Thank you for joining us now. Mr. Ekujumi is joining us now. But let's quickly look at these particular numbers. Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, has been named the most universally accepted candidate amongst the list of aspirants for the 2023 presidential elections. This is according to a recent poll by Steers and an African data and intelligence company, and a new poll conducted by Bloomberg, the New York-based global television. According to the findings of the survey, Peter Obi is the only candidate amongst the lot to achieve at least 25% of the vote in most geopolitical regions, and that is 5 out of 6 based on the responses of the voters, according to the report that declared that their candidate preference. And according also to Bloomberg TV, 2/3 of respondents said in the polls they intend to vote for Peter Obi, a third-party candidate in elections scheduled for February 25. Well, the candidate of the two parties that have ruled Nigeria since the restoration of democracy in 1999 finished in a distant second and third. Tinubu obtained about 18%, according to the poll. He says that Tinubu obtained 18% of the silent voters, and the PDP's Atiku Abubakar tallied 10%. Well, let's get to discussing this now and analyzing the chances of the candidate. And of course, while this poll puts Peter Obi as the lead candidate in the poll conducted by these platforms. Now, Mr. Nelson Ekujumi is a policy and public affairs analyst. He joins us now. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ekujumi. I appreciate your time for coming again.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yeah.
And good morning to our viewers.
Yeah, good morning. So talk to us about your stand about this polls. I know that, yes, this is not real election, but some people say polls conducted like this can actually is a signal to what is likely to happen. What's your position?
Well, thank you very much. Like we all know, in every facet of life, polls are sort of a mirror to reality or to what we'll obtain at the end of the day. They are like a predictor, but we must recognize that in as much as that mechanism is used to mirror, what is likely to happen, the mechanism must not be abused. It must be representative, it must be widespread, and it must be valid. You're looking at these polls and some other polls that have been, that have come out, and if you are a social scientist, you cannot but laugh that this must be a joke. A country where you have about 93.5 million voters, somebody is conducting a poll on just about 3,000 persons, and you want to ask, where is the spread of these polls? The persons that the poll said they have conducted the polls on as respondents, the poll cannot, identify their location, cannot identify their sex, and some other parameters. So when you look at these polls, it is reflective of the manipulations of our political class and their courts. But like some of us have rightly stated severally, that the real polls will be the election on election day, will be the outcome of election on election day. We recollect in 2015 and 2019, there were lots of polls, coming out, the opposition is going to win by landslide. Blah, blah. At the end of the day, when the election was held, the fallacy of those polls were exposed thoroughly, because the incumbent in 2019 even had more votes.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. I was just trying to, chip in this quickly, because if you say this polls conducted, by these platforms or some of these organizations, perhaps were manipulated. How about, it's a platform such as Bloomberg TV. It's a global TV giant that we know, and of course everybody respect when it comes to credibility and trust, the platform they can trust. So this particular poll was also corroborated by Bloomberg TV. So what do you have to say about that? Do you think they should still dismiss that of a poll conducted by Bloomberg? Well, I guess we're having them, a difficult time.
I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Yes.
If you can hear me.
Yeah. So yes, please go ahead. So I was asking you if you think the war conducted by Bloomberg TV was still being manipulated. Well, I think we're still having, difficult time hearing Mr. Kujumi here. But of course, Mr. Kujumi was trying to, put it that this particular poll conducted.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
I said the polls that has been conducted and has been published is ludicrous. By that I mean it is laughable because I don't know the percentage that you want to quantify 3,000 to 93.5 million voters. Again, you want to ask what is the geographical spread? Which of the states or local government or wards can the poll identify as having been conducted in? That was just a blanket, poll that somebody just sat down somewhere and he was calling people on via their numbers that he has picked randomly, which is not representative enough of the various indices that makes up people's voting pattern in the country. So, as much as that poll is not representative, that poll is not reliable, that poll is not valid, you can also ask, how is it impossible that the poll can be manipulated? Bloomberg is peopled by human beings now. Okay. So what makes Bloomberg infallible? I don't think there's any being created by God that cannot, that is not susceptible to manipulations either intentionally or unintentionally. So for me, when I see such polls and I look at the indices that has been deployed, and if they are not reflective of a research methodology, in global best practices, I just dismiss them with the wave of the hand.
Yes, Mr. Kujumi, that's why I asked that. Yeah, I mean, some of these polls, we have our own, local platforms here who have conducted this poll. But I was also asking as well that if that of Bloomberg TV should still be dismissed, because we do know that Bloomberg TV it's a credible platform that is trusted.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please come again.
Okay, so I was asking you that, yeah, we could dismiss and also believe that the ones conducted by the local platforms here could be dismissed. But I was also asking you that how about the one conducted by a platform like Bloomberg TV? Do you think that also can still be manipulated? Do you think we should dismiss it just like that? And do you think the opponents, I mean, that those that were affected, the APC candidate and of course the PDP candidate should dismiss that as well?
I'm not going to dismiss any poll on the basis of location. I'm going to dismiss any poll on the basis of it falling short of global best practices. That is what I've just told you. A poll must be representative of the population it wants to capture. A poll must be reliable. A poll must be valid. So if a poll has been conducted by an outfit that has had credibility over the years, and in investigating the poll, survey, I come across errors, does that mean I should gloss over it? Definitely not. So for me, it is not about the location. It is about, the parameters that is expected to have been used. And if they are falling short of that poll, whether it is conducted by a platform in New York or maybe in Abakaliki, it does not matter. It is the parameters that is used that, that one should look at. And in this case, that poll has fallen short of, of global best practices. And that is why I believe it should be trashed.
Now, just like you have, also advised that it should be ignored or trashed, the other candidate, perhaps, some people, according to some political analysts, also are careful, also watching these polls as conducted by this platform as well. Do you think they are not also taking it seriously? Do you think they are dismissing it just the way you put it?
No, because some of these polls, if you look at the way they have been coming out, I recollect reading a statement credited to one of the presidential candidates, where he called on security agencies to be on the lookout for the originators of these polls, just like they have done in Ghana, where New Year prophecy has been banned, because of the upheaval it could generate. I think it is imperative on us, because of these polls and so many other things that is happening around us, to admonish the security agencies to rise to the occasion, because the peace and tranquility of Nigeria must be guaranteed before, during, and after the election. If these polls are meant to incite, if their prediction comes wrong, then I think it will be foolhardy on us if we just,
Hello, Mr. Akujumi. Well, I'm not sure if you're Mr. Akujumi, lost connection there, but if you can hear me, I just wanted to add that, one of the conditions to win the Nigerian presidential elections, as you're aware, is that the candidate must secure at least 25% of the vote in at least 2/3 of the state. Well, this condition, of course, is to ensure that some level of universal popularity in the country. Given the current campaign history so far, if you put this top candidate together, for instance, the Peter Obi, APC, Bola Tinubu, and of course Atiku, with their popularity, so to speak now, so do you think that they should take Peter Obi for granted, given their popularity in the process of campaign, the electioneering process so far?
Well, if you can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Like we all know that the contest for power is not a tea party. And you can see that the two major political parties, that is the PDP and the APC, from the way they have been campaigning, from the structures that they have, their party being represented at almost all the 774 local governments, 773 local government council administration in Nigeria. The debates, the town hall meetings, the rallies, that they are not taking anybody for granted, not to talk of Peter Obi. And that is how it should be. And recognizing the fact that, like you stated, the constitutional requirement for the declaration of a winner. It is not enough for you to score the highest number of valid votes. It is also imperative that for you to be declared the winner, you must score 25% of the votes in 2/3 of the states of the federation, including Abuja. Right. So I don't think the two major political parties are taking any candidate for granted. There's also a Rabiu Kwankwaso, so I'm sure you are not delegating him to the background, and so many other parties that, even as we speak, we as a political observer, I'm not aware of their candidates going anywhere except snippets of, media reportage of their activities. So I don't think any political party worth its onion would take any candidate.
Let's look at this graphic. Nelson, let's look at this graphic. For instance, this particular poll, according to Stairs and of course Bloomberg, Obi has been put. That's where you look at cumulatively based on his popularity so far. They are saying they expect the overwhelming, vote to go to Obi by 41%, Tinubu 31%, and of course you have Abubakar 20%, and of course Kwakwanso 3%. Of course, these are four top candidates. But if you look at the because I want us to still dwell on popularity. Yes, you have also talked about how each candidate must win 25% by 25% in the 2/3 of the federation or vote, the total vote by 25%. You must win, So, but if you look at the popularity that places Obi at 41%, So my question now would now be that if you look at history of campaigns so far, why do you think he was popular, this popular, so to say?
Well, I think one fact you cannot run away from is that Mr. Peter Obi has benefited from the avalanche of popularity on the social media. And don't forget, a lot of accounts on social media are owned by people that you cannot identify. And there are a lot of bots accounts. As we speak, somebody can create 100 accounts in a day and, give it several names, give it several numbers. And, you think these are viable or legitimate beings. So the popularity is banking on majorly that, a lot of people are being led to believe he has, majorly from the social media. Don't forget, just last Saturday ago, INEC conducted, about 2 Saturdays ago, INEC conducted a mock accreditation. And from reports by Yaga, monitoring of the mock accreditation of the 2023 general elections on Saturday, February 4th, in the polling stations across the country, from Yaga, APC had 61% presence. PDP had about 56% presence, while the LP of Peter Obi had just 22% presence. That is just a reflection of the spread of the parties across the country. So awarding somebody marks or figures based on its popularity in the social media will not translate to vote on, on the election day. We all recollect during the APC presidential primaries, where the vice presidential candidate of the country today, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, through several polls was, reported to be in the lead that he's going to clinch the party's presidential ticket by almost 98% to his other, aspirants. And lo and behold, on election day, the man came a distant third. Right. That is to tell you that all these, and you cannot run away from the fact that Professor Osinbajo has a very massive following on the social media, whether real or imaginary. But when it comes to actual voting, all these polls, all this so-called popularity, you see it. So some of us, these polls are mere ploy to win the gullible. If you are very politics run.
Okay, we will probably bring you back again, but I need us to wrap up with this. Some people believe that it is not because of social media. Some people believe that perhaps Peter Obi was speaking more to the issues than the rest of the candidate in his approach of dealing with Nigeria's problem as regards the challenges of economy and all of that. They said he's connected well, with the Nollywood, the entertainment industry, and how to address, debt as well. But if you compare three of them in 30 seconds, if you can do that, so who do you think is connecting more to the issue of Nigeria's problem more?
Oh, I believe the APC candidate is connecting more to the issues. I've listened to Peter Obi severally. I just watched his interview at the Nigeria Economic Summit, and I was thoroughly embarrassed, where he said he came to the summit to learn. And I'm like, is the summit a learning, is it an apprentice workshop? Anybody aspiring to the presidency of Nigeria must know his onions, must be well grounded. So for me, Peter Obi speaks more in the air. You are asking him what plans, what makes you different from the other candidates, and Peter Obi will be reeling out statistics from Indonesia and China. And you are like, come on, didn't you hear the question? What's the relationship between China and what will you do differently? So
how about the PDP candidate? How about the PDP candidate, Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president?
Atiku Abubakar is just regurgitating what the present administration has already done, and this is an administration that he has always condemned. So for me, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is not saying anything new. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is the only one who is speaking to the issues, who is telling you these are the problems, these are the solutions. But when Peter Obi comes, he tells you there's corruption. How will you combat corruption? Peter Obi will not give you the roadmap. So I ask myself, what sort of a candidate is this that you can identify problems, but you cannot provide solutions? So such candidates, shows emptiness as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, we will probably have, in the coming days, we'll probably have a panels and bring more people to talk about these. Of course, we'll look forward to that. Thank you so much for sharing your thought with us, Nelson Ekujimi, Policy and Public Affairs Analyst.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. You're still watching Business Breakfast. We'll take a moment now. When we return, of course, we'll look at the chances, more talks on the chances of the presidential candidate in the coming election, and of course what to expect. Be back in a moment. Stay with us.